What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm J-Lag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing Riverdale Season 4, Episode 5. And it's called Chapter 62, Witness for the Prosecution.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending because we are going to go through our recap, roundups, our best moments, our best lines. I got questions and theories for you guys, you and J-Lag.
Yeah. And we also have our contest going on right now. So if you leave a review for us on Recap Rewind on iTunes, you'll enter into a contest for a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card and Pop Socket. To enter, all you need to do is rate and comment on our iTunes page and you'll be entered in the draw. The contest ends December 11th, where we will be drawing one lucky winner. And as always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get into the episode, y'all.
Let's get into it. What did you think?
I thought it was good. I think that this is probably the definition of, and I've said this before about Riverdale, it's a definitive filler episode for me specifically. I think that there were some things that happened that are continuing the storyline for sure, but I think that there were definitely things that were more, like, they could have been a little bit more exciting.
Yeah.
Is that a bad thing to say?
No, I get it. I felt like I did enjoy it because I think at the end it kind of left me with a bunch of questions and I kind of wanted to discuss it with you, and I was excited about that. Having said that, I did feel like it was missing something, and I think that something was Cheryl, because it kind of just felt stale without her. I was like, where's like that spice? Where's that like romance like thing that I need in this episode? And I didn't get that at all because like the core four was like fully like involved in their own like individual storylines.
Right.
So I was kind of missing that, but no, I have a lot of questions for you, and I kind of want to get through this convo so we can discuss and theorize.
Let's do it. Well, that being said, just really quickly, I think Cheryl's getting an entire episode to herself next week because it's called Hereditary. This is the one that they've been like
she's in it.
amping up
She's
this whole
the
time.
only one in it.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll have to.
That'd be crazy.
We'll talk about
if they
it,
gave her
when
a full episode, like her and Tony, that'd be crazy.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'd be into that. Then we'd be like, for sure they're doing a spinoff.
Yeah, they're like getting ready for it.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the entire episode. Yeah. So it starts off with Jughead, and he's narrating this whole storyline, but it starts mostly off with Archie, and he's this new vigilante hero person, right?
Yeah. And like, so we see him, I don't know. I'm still not sold on this guy. Like, I don't know. This is weird, but they show like this girl walking in this dark alleyway, and I'm like, bro, like, where are you walking? Like, where are you going? It's first of all, it's like midnight, and it's like the sketchiest alleyway that you could ever find in this freaking town. And then of course, like she gets like attacked, and then Archie comes in and he like protects her and saves her, and then she still like freaking pepper sprays Archie in the face. So I'm like, I don't get it. Like, are you successful in this endeavor, or are you still failing? Like, how are we supposed to take this?
I guess he's successful, but I think that they're trying to bring the like a bit of comedy into it, being like, because he's also a masked person. Yeah. He could be just as sketchy. I feel like they do that a lot in superhero movies, but that's what I mean. I think the bigger question is to ask yourself, are you willing to watch a Riverdale storyline where there's a literal superhero vigilante character running around saving people? I mean, I get that it's Archie. I'm glad that it is him and not like some random other person. But also, I'm like, this isn't gonna last forever.
You know what,
He's
though?
not
I think
Batman.
if they hadn't done the Red Circle in season 2 and they hadn't done all of that, I think I would have been a bit more open to it now, to be like, ooh,
Agreed.
Okay, I can see where they're going with this, because they could tackle it in a really like unique way, but they've already done it. And so I feel like they're just kind of tacking this onto the initial storyline with the Red Circle kind of thing. And it just feels very like cheesy to me. And I get that Archie's doing good for the town. I love that. I don't like this angle.
Yeah. The question that I always have with these storylines when they start them up is like, to what end? What is this? How is this all going to wrap itself up? And I don't know, because as we remember, the Red Circle disbanded so fast that it wasn't even funny. But you know, and then they had like the Black Circle or whatever the hell it was called. There were just like so many other gangs that were happening that now that he has like a community center and he has Monroe with him, like you'd wonder why he's even jumping back into that, knowing that it's
so
super
funny.
dangerous.
It's so funny because like at some point in the episode he even says, he's like, who's trying to shut me down, Hiram Lodge? And I'm like, no, that was from season 2. Now you have a new person trying to shut you down. So it's like literally the same storyline. Even he was questioning it. Like,
yeah. And that's the thing. It's funny because I do find that the writing this season is very like referential. It's like telling us like, yes, we have seen this already, but they're not giving us any guarantees that we're going to get anything different from what we got from the last season. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. It was relatively entertaining. He does kind of look, I'm not going to lie, he does kind of look cool in his like hoodie, like cover face get up. It was kind of like, he's got a cool outfit, but at the same time, I'm like, I thought it was kind of cool. Like,
it's like he's got baklava, whatever it's called. those like,
balaclava. Yeah,
like it's just, anyways.
Not the dessert.
Yeah. Okay, so then he saves that girl. He gets pepper sprayed in the face. Cool. And then it cuts back to high school, and I'm like, so we're back in high school. Like, let's get lit.
The real people.
And something that didn't really surprise me. So Betty's all like, hey, Kevin, do you have plans after school? And he's like, no, why? He's like, I'm just gonna go like looking for dick. Like once again. He couldn't just say no, like, I'm gonna be studying at home.
4 fucking seasons later, he's like, nope, I'm just gonna go to the woods and hook up with somebody. What's up?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
So she basically asks him to like help, like join the FBI junior like group with her. Yes. And of course, the first thing he says, he's like, is that like your hot brother's like doing it? He's like, he's teaching it, right? I'm like, oh my God, here we go with this. We booked this also, too.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, there it is. Like that whole question, whether or not he's gay or straight, is it going to come up? And of course, Kevin asked it in the 5th episode, which is fine. Like, I'm okay with that. No, I was totally okay with it. Yeah. Want to figure that out. Yeah. But I will say that, like, number one, why is Kevin joining the junior FBI? Like, you know what? Wasn't invited.
I think it was a cute way for Betty and Kevin to have a moment and like just kind of continue on with their friendship. And also because everyone else is so effing busy with their own storyline, it kind of like gives her someone to kind of bounce her ideas off of and stuff like that. So like I get why they paired them together.
I think the unfortunate situation is the fact that because he got signed on as a full-time character, like he's like on the bill or whatever, that now they like have to give him something, and this is what they're giving him. And I'm like, so you're basically support.
I am excited to see where it's gonna go though. Like I am excited.
I'm interested, not excited, but
interested. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, there's a difference. So okay, so then it cuts back to the Riverdale jail, and now Hermione is in jail, and randomly, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but Mary is her lawyer, right?
Right.
And so they're trying to figure out what's the best angle to get her out. And it turns out that the DA is going to be pitting Hiram, or what Hiram did to Tallboy, on Hermione. And she's like, no, I didn't kill Tallboy. I killed someone else. So
yeah, she's like, I didn't even see that guy. She's never even spoken to him. And I think the biggest piece of evidence that's against Hermione right now is that like Mary's like, they found your monogram Tucci bag in Tallboy's apartment with like a ton of money. So like it looks like you paid him to kill or shoot Hiram. And obviously Hermione's like, no, like Hiram set that up, like whatever, I didn't do it. So things are just not looking good for mommy Hermione. And I think Veronica's game this episode is sort of like talk to the federal prosecutor, like get in on the like thing and like see what they can do to get Hermione acquitted, basically.
Yes. The question that I have is like, these are high school students. How do they have all this free time?
And like this is like hardcore like legal activity. Like how does like I love how, because Mary was like, Veronica, like have you spoken to the federal prosecutor? And she's like, yeah, like I talk to her like every day, like on the DL. So like I know. I'm like, when? Like you're a student.
It's so funny. And I'm like, I thought that it was Betty's storyline that she wanted to become a lawyer, and now suddenly she's not a lawyer. She's just an FBI agent. And now Veronica's being like a speakeasy, and I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to go to Harvard.
I'm glad this happened because I kind of was like forgetting about the Lodge storyline. And this kind of shifted my focus like back to them and her saying like, true. I want to save mommy. I want to keep daddy in jail. I was like, oh, true. Like I forgot like what her mission was. So thank you for recapping me on what season 3 was about.
Yeah. Thanks, Veronica. Appreciate it. So then it cuts back to Stonewall Prep, and Donna is talking to Jughead, and she was like, hey boy, hey, how are you doing? And he's like, oh, you mean after the fact that you guys put me in a fucking coffin? I'm doing great. So I guess he's kind of swept it under the rug, but I'm like, I wouldn't trust any of these hoes ever since that happened. Because he starts asking about Moose. He's like, Moose must be missing. And Donna's like, you be crazy. Like, he's just like working and really busy. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he cleaned up his entire area. So he's probably dead or gone.
And I guess Jughead does find out that like people did go missing. Like,
yes,
for real.
So there were like the Stonewall 4 that actually did go missing. It's not just a myth. And I don't know. Did you see any looks? I wasn't really paying attention, but did like Donna make a look that was like, I know. I mean,
I feel like she always looks shady because she is.
She does look shady.
So I don't really trust her.
Right.
And we know something shady is going on, obviously, like, you know, so
right.
It's not surprising.
So then it shows Mr. Chipping come in, and he's like, yo, we have like a special situation going on. I'm like the Baxter Brothers mystery book secret writer.
Yeah. Like, I guess like there's like this famous like book series that like young kids used to read called like the Baxter Boys. Yeah. I guess like it's based on like the Hardy Boys series. Yeah. And then he was like, I'm like the ghostwriter for it. Da, 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 da. He's like, they asked me to write it, so I've been writing it for years. And Jughead's like legit boner. Like he's like, oh my God. Yeah. He's like, that was my favorite book.
This is my favorite.
And they're freaking out. It's funny because I was reading a recap and the writer was like, dude, like if this school is such a like scholarly, like freaking crazy ass like writing school, why are they reading a child like a freaking elementary level book? Like you would never like they would never go back and read this book if it was meant for like 8-year-olds. You know what I mean?
Unless they were like relatively advanced. Like I don't know, like maybe the Hardy Boys story, like, or maybe it's just like a comic book for him, you know what I mean?
It was just funny. Like, it was a funny point because I was like, yeah, it's true, because Jughead was reading it when he was like a little kid, basically. Not a little kid, but like elementary schoolish.
He literally says like they were my gateway drug into serious crime fiction.
And then Brett's like, okay, calm down, like you're such a loser.
Yeah. So then that's when Mr. Chipping says, we're going to have like a cute little wine and cheese night and have all like the random ghostwriters come in who wrote the book series to like talk to you guys.
Cool.
And they're like, cool. Like Jughead's like, yes. So then it cuts to Pop's diner. Pop's talking to Veronica and he basically says, so just as an FYI, they subpoenaed me and I don't know how to lie. So I'm going to have to tell the truth that I helped your dad fudge the books. And if that is the situation, then you're going to be implicated in this crime because you were, you're the one that owns it now, right? Is that the reason why he's like,
yeah, because he did doctor her books obviously to make Hiram look like the guilty one. Right. And like he admitted it, but he's like, I can't admit that. Like I'm gonna have to like fess up in court. He's like, I can't lie over the Bible. And she's like, no. She's like, don't do that for me. Like whatever. So he's like, I don't know what to do. And basically, like again, like Veronica's left with another stack of like things that she needs to go through and figure out legally.
Yeah.
Which leads her to the next scene, which she goes and sees Daddy, and she's like, Daddy, I'm so mad at you. How could you get Pops involved? Meanwhile, Pops is like at the center of everything. Like. The fact that she even questions why he's involved, it's like insane. Like it all started from the purchase of Pops like seasons ago. You know what I mean? Like obviously he's going to be involved.
Yeah.
And he's basically saying like, well, you got him involved, right? Which she did. And he's like, I'm basically just getting back at you for whatever. And she was like, yeah, but I did it because you were extorting me. It's just like a back and forth. And he's like, I'm not gonna like give up. Like this is it. And then on top of that, he was like, and tell your mommy good luck. Yeah. He has no like remorse. Like he does not feel sorry at all. Like
He doesn't give a shit. What do you think about the fact that he's like, I don't give a fuck about you?
I mean, it's pretty shocking because I still feel like they are going to come out of this because we know they're going to come out. They can't stay in jail forever. And I think eventually, like, the relationship has to get better. I'm kind of overseeing them, like, you know, battle each other this whole time. And it's just kind of making me question the fact that it's like, how do you guys keep getting over shit like this? At some point, it's just going to ruin your relationship because, like, you can't keep getting over this kind of stuff. Like, Taken, he's literally telling her mom, like, fuck off. Like, I hope you die in jail. Like, how do you come back from that?
I mean, they are technically divorced now. So, like, we don't know what's going to happen once they're both out of jail at the same time. Because, like, remember, he was, like, staying at a hotel or whatever. True. Now that they're both back in the same, like, they're both free in Riverdale, like, where are they going to go? Like, is he going to stay at the jail? Like, what is he going to do? So, anyway, we'll get to that later. It cuts back to the Bon Nuit. And she sits and starts to talk to the federal prosecutor again. And she's like, okay, what happened was, like, Pops is not gonna like lie on the stand, and it's like I did kind of tell him to like F up the books or whatever. So like, what do we do now? And the federal prosecutor is basically like, well, he's super important to this case. Like that book is like going to implicate your dad and everything. So if that falls apart, then we're fucked.
Also, like, I just loved how Veronica had to say who she was talking to because otherwise we wouldn't have known who she, like, we would have known who she was. But I feel like for their audience, like, Veronica's like, before you ask, no, Miss Federal Prosecutor, I won't tell. I'm like, why are you saying her job title? Like, she would have a name.
She's not a doctor. Like, she doesn't have a PhD. You have to be like, so doctor. Dead. I know. It's true. There's a lot of, like, what's the word, like when they like just tell you everything right away, like they're just like expositional,
because like because I guess like you wouldn't necessarily understand who she is, but whatever. So so she basically tells her like, good luck with your mother's case because we're fucked.
Because you're fucked now. And then it cuts back to the Betty storyline. So she's at FBI headquarters and they're like doing a deep dive into serial killers, and Charles is like, so here's some pictures of some serial killers. All the while, Kevin is obviously like, oh my God, you're
the first thing he says, like
your man.
He's like, your half brother's so hot, and she's like, ugh.
Like when do you get over the fact that your fucking gay best friend is being so goddamn annoying about every guy that he meets? You know what I mean? I'm like, stop it now. We get it. He is cute.
He is cute.
But if he's not taking his shirt off, then like I'm not
he's
gonna
literally
care.
Talking about serial killers, and Kevin's like, oh my God, he's so hot.
Like Kevin's the serial killer at this point. Because clearly he's just like dickmatized every single fucking time he sees somebody. So, so when he's going through the slideshow, he's like, which one is a serial killer? And Betty's like got this crazy intuition. And she's like, that one, the middle one, the left one. And she keeps getting them right all the way to the point where like the final question is like, who is the serial killer? And she's like, none of them are. I'm like, okay, relax.
Like, calm the fuck down. What are you sniffing the mouth through the fucking PowerPoint slides? Crazy. Even the kids in front of her were like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah. Everybody's like, are you guys fucked? Yeah. Like, who is this girl? So then he says, like, what is the commonality? And she's like, I don't know. They're all like serial killers. Or no, she actually says like,
they don't have a common thing.
There is no commonality. That is the point of serial killers, that there is no real distinction. And then he's like, it's because they all have the serial killer gene.
And then does it flash back to Alice saying like, you have the M1, 3-1, P1, 8-1. Does it come back to that?
H1N1, yeah. It's like this next level, whatever. So yeah, from last season. And then she like spirals. For the rest of the episode, she spirals and thinks that she's a serial killer.
Come back to season 2, episode 8.
Yeah. Honestly, what did you think of the fact that they did this again? You know what?
I do like it. I like it. I'm not hating on it. I just feel like it's done. Like, we've done this before. I feel like I'm watching a rerun. Like, we've been through it.
It's true. It's literally exploring the same storyline just with a different angle. Yeah. You know what
Actually, I mean? I think it was season 3 because when they cut to Alice, she was wearing like her farm getup. So I think it was last season.
That is what happened. Yeah. Remember when she did like the hypnosis thing and like she like that's when she found out. So anyway, we'll get back to that later. Let's get back to the Jughead residence. And so Jughead is looking for his books. He's like, Dad, where are my books? And FP's like rolling his eyes. He's like, oh, those books? Like, I don't know. Like, why don't you check in storage? And so he finds these books. He's talking to Betty, and he's like, these books were like my life. I love these books so much. I just found out that like Mans like is the ghostwriter, and he asked his dad point blank, like, why did you stop giving me these books? And then FP's like, I gotta go to work.
Yeah,
bye.
I was
and
like,
so he doesn't talk.
At first,
to him.
I'm like, why? Like he ran out of money, maybe, like, because like FP didn't have money. I'm like, oh man, like he couldn't afford it. And then I'm like, oh no, it must
right
be,
away. I was like,
so much
there's
more
some
than
sketchy
that.
shit happening here. Like I definitely was like, okay, you gotta explain
Yeah.
yourself by the end of this episode. So he does, but we'll talk about that later. Cutting back to Jughead's dorm room, he's like a little child again, like reading the comic. Like his
I have
books
to say, like
the
Jughead
covers.
was super cute this episode. I did
love him.
It was, and I didn't hate that storyline at all. I was like down for it.
Yeah, I was very interested in it. So he does find that when he opens up the book right away, he's like, "Oh, the one of the first pages is missing."
Like ripped out.
So he's like, "Interesting." He's like, "Anyway, I want to read this book. Cool." Cutting back to the El Royale, and this is when they're like painting the outdoors.
Yeah.
They're like painting the outside of it, and one of the kids, Toby, is like brought over by like a grocery store owner, and he's like, this kid was shoplifting. I know he's one of your kids. Like, all your kids are trouble. I don't want to see any of your boys in here anymore. And Archie's like, okay, we gotta talk. Like, what's going on here? But we don't really see that. He just tells him like, go get ready. Like, we'll deal with this.
Yeah.
So that's his storyline this episode. So then it cuts back to Stonewall, and this is when Mr. Chipping brings in this like old fart man, and he's like, oh, this is like this guy, and it turns out that he's the OG creator.
The writer.
Is he the OG
I think he was the creator too.
Like,
I feel like he was.
Okay, so it's like this old man. He's the one who started the books, and then it was passed over to Mr. Chipping, and now they're looking for like an ingenue, like a new person to take on as the ghostwriter, as if like Mr. Chipping's fucking
seriously.
busy or
I'm like he literally is so young and hot. Like, why do you need someone new?
Exactly. So anyway, so they're like, we're gonna do a contest.
Quick question: do you feel like they're setting this up for Jughead?
Setting him up for
like
what
all of
exactly?
this, like this whole like ghostwriter storyline.
Oh.
Like, do you think that they're working so that they're setting Jughead up for something, or is this just like a coincidence?
I think that's a good question, because I think going back to last episode where Mr. Chipping was like, I didn't know that there were people that went missing. Like, he just looked so guilty that I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't quite trust him.
Because it's like,
he could be doing this to like recruit him and like maybe take revenge or something. Like,
because you're right. Like, why replace Mr. Chipping now at this point? Like, right when Jughead comes to this school, like now.
Yeah.
And they knew how like addicted he was to the series. Like, addicted. You know?
And he does, I think this is also when he finds out that, so he basically announces a contest to choose the next writer, but like there's no real detail around that. Like, Jughead's basically like fangirling the entire time. He's like, so.
Like, no one else really seemed interested. Like, Donna was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, like, does she really want to be the ghostwriter? Brett was like down for it,
because I feel like Brett just wants to do it because
Jughead wants to do it. Exactly.
So, whatever. So they're trying to figure out like what the new style of the book is going to be for this new thing. Cutting back to Riverdale, like, is it a hospital? Is it like some like medical center, a clinic? Betty gets her test results from a doctor, and that's when she's like, you do have the serial killer gene. It was very much like Maury. It's like, you are definitely the father. Like, you definitely have the serial killer gene. And this is when she like starts to spiral even more. She's like, oh fuck, it's true. Like, because I know that last season when it was mentioned, we were like, no, it was Polly, like maybe they were lying to her this entire time, but it looks like that was a true storyline for her. It was confirmed in this test that she does have the gene. But then when she walks out, Kevin's like, yo, how's everything going? And she was like, nothing to worry about, I don't have the gene. And he's like, see, everything's fine. So she's lying to him at this point.
Yeah.
Then it cuts back to the El Royale, and it's nighttime, and Archie's about to dip, and then he sees these kids down the alleyway, like breaking into a car, like stealing like their hubcaps or whatever. And so he chases them off, but as he's about to chase them off, or he thinks he chases them all off, he goes to pick up the hubcaps, and then it's Toby holding a gun at his fucking head, and he's like, who the hell are you? And then that's when Archie's like, you don't want to do this, like just leave. And then he like gets the like gun out of his hand and he's like, tell Dodger like he's done, we're gonna like screw him up, whatever. And then that's it.
Yeah.
So I guess it cuts to the next morning, and that's when Archie has to talk to the kids, and he's like, specifically Toby, he's like looking straight at him, and he's like, so a little birdie told me that like one of y'all or many of y'all are working for Dodger still, but you can't choose, you know, being at the El Royale and work for him. You have to make a choice. So choose choose one of us. And so Toby and this next kid is like, well, you guys are seniors, so like when you guys leave, like what's gonna even happen here? Like how are you guys gonna even take care of us? And Monroe's like, error.
Yeah, like fair point. They made a fair point.
They did make a fair point. It's like true. Like, these poor kids don't know what's gonna happen once they graduate. Like, are they gonna continue at that? But that's the thing. Like, at that point in time, Archie could have easily said, "Don't worry. Like, we'll make sure that everything stays maintained. Like, I'm starting this community center now. It's not like I'm gonna drop it next week." But he didn't give them the confidence. Toby decides to leave with his like boyfriend or whatever, and then that's kind of how that scene ends. So then it cuts back to Betty and Charles at the headquarters, and Charles is talking about like a new thing. I think he's talking to like the rest of the class, and this is when he mentions, you know, there were all these different like indicators, and one of them is the fact that they kill animals at a young age. And then that's when she has this like repressed memory emerge from her brain, and she's like, uh-oh. And so she sees herself killing a cat.
Yeah, like standing, like sitting over her cat.
Yes.
And then she's like, oh my God, like what? Like, did I kill the cat?
Like, oh, what was that? What happened? Yeah. So anyway, we see that memory a little bit later, but then she's like, oh God, I did kill my cat. It is my fault. I am a serial killer. I'm like, wouldn't so you know you were a serial killer, bitch? Like, fuck.
But it's so like, funny how like Charles's every single point of like what makes you a serial killer is what like she's had an experience of it. Like everything he was saying, she's like, that's me. That's me. I'm like, maybe you are. Maybe you need to be put away.
I'm like, this isn't a horoscope. Like, she can't be like, I'm exactly like that. That's my personality. I must be a serial killer. So, I mean, killing your cat is definitely like a situation that you have to like mentally figure out like why that happened. Yeah. Which she does later on with Kevin. So anyway, we'll go back to that in a second. So then it cuts back to the court, and this is when
FP's on trial, and they're asking him questions about like the Tucci bag and like Tall Boy, and he's like, no, he's like, when I was at the premises, like the Tucci bag was never there. I cleared it, like so clearly, like it was planted like after the fact. And then they talk about the cabin, which I guess. I can't remember what happened at the cabin, but they're like...
The cabin is where Minetta gets shot, right?
But do they know that she killed Minetta at this point?
No.
Right.
So this is when she's like... So when they say like, oh, the bag's been there, that's when Hermione's like, oh, shit, that was planted. That's not true. Yeah. And like there's like a little bustle and hustle. And then that's when they talk about it like after the next scene. That's when Hermione's like,
no, because they were like no, because she says something, and then the DA's like, oh yeah, what about this cabin? Because Hiram Lodge doesn't own it, and FP's like, huh? And everyone's like, what the fuck's going on? And then she's like, read out who the owner is of the cabin, and then FP's like, Hermione Lodge, and everyone's like, so effing gagged.
Like, how gagged could they be? They're literally husband and wife. Like, Jesus Christ.
Why is it so shocking? Like, what if he put it in her name? He was freaking sent away for embezzlement. Like, you don't think he would put it under her name? Like, what the hell?
That would have been so easy to fight. I don't know why
everyone's freaking out.
Anyway, so then it cuts back to Stonewall Prep and take us through what happens here.
So Jughead is looking at like the school yearbook. Finally, after all these friggin' effing weeks of being there, he's like, let me look at my like yearbook now. And then he sees his grandfather in the picture, and then he sees Mr. DuPont, like I guess in the same photo, and he's like, oh crap, like he totally knew my grandpa. And then I think like Mr. DuPont like comes around the corner or whatever, and he's like, oh my God, he's like, you knew my grandpa, and Mr. DuPont's like, I knew you looked so familiar, you look exactly like him, and like Mr. DuPont like goes off about like FP, like the original FP. He's like, your grandfather was the best writer. I was so gagged, like, reading his things. He's like, he was like an amazing writer. He's like, I don't know what happened to him. And then he's basically like, tell your dad to come to wine and cheese night. He's like, I want to meet him. I was like, because
he does ask the question. He's like, where's your grandpa now? Like, how is he doing?
And he can't answer. And then
that's when FP's like, he cut out. He's like, he's gone now.
Yeah.
And that's when he's like, I want to meet like
your
guy's
dad,
son, aka like your dad, to see like how smart he is. And then FP's or Jughead's like, he not smart.
He was cute, yeah. He was
skipped a generation.
He was definitely like, I was like, hey, he's not gonna come. But I'm like, it was cute how excited Jughead was, and sort of like this realization that like, wow, my grandfather was actually like a lit guy, like, because he's never heard that side of that story. His dad has only told him like your grandpa was like a loser and like a drunk and a dropout. So for him to start hearing these stories of his grandpa, like, he was getting so effing excited, and it was so cute.
And this is, and anyway, we'll talk about it later, because I was gonna say there's something interesting about how FP handled this whole situation with the grandpa, knowing that he went to that school and then getting mad at Jughead for asking questions about the grandpa. I was like,
right, like, you don't think he's gonna ask questions? Like, you're literally sending him to the same school. Like, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so then it cuts back to the jail, and this is when Hermione essentially admits the fact that she's
like, Veronica's like, Mom, like, the cabin. She's like, what cabin? Oh yeah. And then it like cuts to like her shooting Minetta in the freaking head after she fucked him in the bed. I'm like, damn, I forgot that happened.
Yeah, she fucking killed somebody.
Savage. I'm like, maybe she should be in jail. Like, that was intense.
She should be in jail. Like, why are you getting her out? And that's the thing. Like, when Veronica finds that out, she's like, you did that? And she's like, yeah. And then she's like, I'm still gonna get you out though. Like,
are you sure? Poor Mary's like, what the fuck did I get involved in?
You know, and that's the thing. It's funny because I'm like, what does Mary have to lose in this whole situation?
Like, everything.
She's like, you tried to fucking fuck my husband while I was out of town, and now I'm defending your ass. I guess it's like Archie's girlfriend's mom. Mess.
It's like her gonna be like her in-law, basically, if they get married.
Basically.
But Mary's like honest. She's like, guys, we're shit out of luck. Like, we have nothing going for us anymore. We can't bring anything else up. Like, this looks really bad. And Veronica's like, can't we just wave a magic wand? And I'm like, no, you can't. Like, that's the whole point of real life. Like,
that's
you
the
can't
point
just
of, like, jail.
Wave a magic wand. Your mom killed someone. So maybe she should be in jail.
Yeah. So then they recommend, like, maybe you should just like say that you're guilty, like change your plea case to guilty. And then Mary's like, yeah, but if she pleads guilty, she's literally gonna be stuck in jail for like the rest of her life. It's true, because I was like, oh yeah, she could plead guilty. Maybe they'll give her like a year. Before I could even think that, Mary's like, she's gonna go to jail forever. I was like, oh. I was like, true. Yeah. So then this is when, and then Mary's like, unless you have like some sick connection with like the mayor or whatever. And then Veronica's like, actually, I do.
Governor Dooley.
She's like, I'm gonna go talk to Governor
Donald Dooley
because Donald Dooley, and like try to figure that shit out. So she does later. But going back to Betty's dream, this is when she like has another vision of her killing this cat. She's freaking out. She's like, oh no, I actually did kill the cat.
The cat noises were very traumatizing, by the way.
Yeah, I was like, oh god,
it was really weird.
Considering like I've been around cats that make weird noises, like I definitely didn't want to hear that again. So anyways,
she basically like
she's continuing to spiral.
Yeah, and I think this is the moment where like the scene really kind of like it continues through, where she sees like the younger version of herself like literally raising the rock and like almost gonna hit the cat. Like, we don't see that obviously, but like the cat like it screams and like you hear the rock.
Yeah.
So like you get that she obviously like bashed, the rock into the cat, and it kind of ends like that. And it was like so jarring. I was like, oh my god, it was really messed up.
It was pretty intense. So anyway, we'll get back to that in a second. We'll cut back to FP's office, and this is when Jughead is so lit. He's so excited to have his dad included. I felt so bad for him because he's like, Dad, let's like hang out and like let's talk about Grandpa. Like, I want you to tell me a little bit more about him. And FP's like, fuck that guy. He like left us.
He's a drunk. He's a loser.
He's a loser. And he's like, my memories with him were like terrible. So yeah, I'm not gonna go to your stupid fucking wine and cheese party. And
I get
it.
You know what I mean? I get it.
But at the same time, I'd be like, but your son is like literally learning new things about your dad that maybe even FP doesn't know.
No, it's true. And I think maybe that's why towards the end, like FP does change his mind a little bit. You know, he becomes more open to it. But I think originally, like, plus, like, FP looked really busy for, like, once in his lifetime. Like Jughead just caught him at a really bad time in the day because FP was, like,
busy doing
scrambling for a file he couldn't find.
Like, not saving any fucking people, but he's doing something, filing taxes. So then it cuts to the Banui, and she's talking to Dooley, Governor Dooley. And
I like how they answered all my annoying questions in this scene because even he was like even because he's like, what am I doing here? I thought this was gonna be like an FBI meeting because my original question was like, how the F did he even come here? Like he didn't just come knowing that like he's gonna talk to Veronica. He wouldn't want to talk to her, so he answered that question. And then she's like, well, she's like, I still got shit on you and I'm going to blackmail you again. And then he was like, you can't keep like using the same shit on me. He's like,
can't keep
he's like, you're literally going to blackmail me again. And she's like, yeah, I am. And I was like, okay, all right.
All right, let's move on with that. So she does say like this time around, like I'm going to like make sure that in writing, I'm never going to blackmail you
She's
again.
like, this is my last card I can play.
Yeah, get my mom out of jail like once she pleads guilty. And he's like, okay, fine. And it's funny that you say that they answer your questions here because they answered my questions for later when I was like, bitch, you are gonna get in trouble again for the fact that you're blackmailing him. Like I feel like you're slowly seeing Veronica doing illegal shit to do the right thing, for sure. Which is her way of doing the right thing.
There's no magic wand. You know what I mean? Like she's still sitting in that room being like, is there a magic wand? No, bitch. There's no Harry Potter. Like there's no magic wand. Your mom's got to do the time. So she's still trying to find like another way to skirt around the system, which is what her dad does, you know? And eventually I think it's going to catch up to her.
For sure.
It does
this
episode, in like 40 minutes. So
yeah. So then it goes back to Stonewall Prep, and this is when they're like, okay, here's the contest. This is what's gonna happen. We're gonna set you guys up where it's gonna be called like a game of murder. So one person is the murderer in this room, and if you guys can guess who the killer is before they kill you by winking at you, then you win.
And of course, Jughead gets the card. He gets the murderer card. And it's funny because when he got the murderer card, Mr. DuPont like looked at him. And I feel like it was set up. Like I feel like they gave him the card on purpose, you know, knowing that Jughead was going to get it. But also this game looks really fun. Like we should play it like when we're out.
I feel like it's fun, but also like what? Like can't you just like run around being like, it's you, it's you, it's you? Or do you only get one guess?
Yeah, like you can only.
How many guesses do you get? Because I would have just run around
like, you.
Like, okay. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so he does win. He beats Brett right at the very end, and then he's like, "Yas."
It was funny how it happens though, because like he killed Donna first. She's like dead, and then he kills Brett. Like he winks at Brett, and Brett's like, "It's Jughead." Right. I'm like, bitch, he winked at you first, like you're dead. And even like and DuPont's like, yeah, like Jughead wins, and Brett's still talking, and Jughead's like, you're dead. He's like, you can't talk. Like Jughead was so on point this episode. He was so cute.
Yeah. He was definitely entertaining. This season so far has been really, really a strong season for like Jughead / Cole Sprouse's character. I've been really enjoying it. So cutting back to
now it cuts back to the FBI office again. Okay.
Yes.
And now Charles has his third example of what it means to why are you a serial killer? And he's like, guys, did you know that serial killers also like they love diaries, they love writing, they love journaling in their cute little pink notebooks. And then like Maddie's like, and she's like I do that too. She's like, pink? I had a pink one. Like it cuts
just freaking the fuck out.
She freaks out. She's like, oh my god, I love to like diary. And it cuts to like her going back home, which isn't even her home anymore. Yeah. She like goes back to her bedroom, which is not her bedroom anymore. And she finds her diaries, and she's like reading through them, and she's like, oh my god, I'm a serial killer. Like what was even in it? What was she even writing in it? She's like, day one, I love Archie.
Diary. I love That
must mean I'm a killer.
This poor girl, like she's taking the wrong.
I almost feel like he's doing it on purpose. Like Charles is doing it on purpose.
He's like, you might be a killer because you have all these qualities. He's like, the next thing is like girls with ponytails.
He's like, and then the last one is, if you like wearing black wigs and a black corset, you're definitely a serial killer.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past her for that reason alone. If you're out there wearing fucking lingerie and wearing a black wig, you probably are.
They gotta just bring back Dark Betty, man. That girl was lit.
I'm down for Dark Betty. I miss Dark Betty. So then cutting back to the courtroom, this is when Hermione decides to change her plea, and she says, "I be guilty," and then everybody's like, "Oh," like so she takes the plea, and then we obviously know that like because of that she's gonna get the pardon.
Yeah, and is this the first time we see Hermosa, or did we see her in the courtroom the previous scene?
You do see her like she's lurking the entire time. She's like in the frame. She's like a little out of focus. And then
she's like wearing sunglasses. Like who wears sunglasses in the effing courtroom? Like the judge would be like, take your damn sunglasses off. Like that's not respectable.
I will say that the cat, before we talk about her in a little bit more detail later, I will say that they did a really good job casting her because she looks exactly like freaking Hermione. Yeah.
Well, looks like Veronica.
Sorry, Veronica. That's what I meant to say. So whatever. But the funny thing is like, does that mean that Hermione did not see her behind her?
No, definitely not.
And if that's the case,
I don't even think Hermione knows that she exists.
So that it's not her kid.
It's definitely not her kid. We're confirming it's not her kid for sure. There's no way.
There is no way, because I feel like Hermione would have been like, oh, by the way, you have a fucking sister.
She'd have been like, call my other daughter to come and support me in court. Like,
but that's what I'm trying to say. Is it Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos' kid? Like, or like whatever.
How?
Remember he had the mistress last season. Like,
but was it his mistress though? Wasn't she just someone that was buying the egg or something?
Well, I think they were like seen like leaving a hotel together at one point.
But they didn't actually physically have a scene together in that episode.
No.
Maybe.
No, just by pictures. Maybe. But like, they were like, I think that they were relatively like romantically connected. But anyway, like maybe I'm just dying to see if Kelly's coming back for like a reprise. Anyway, so then it cuts to, anyway, I'll get into that later. So then it cuts to Pop's Diner. And this is when Betty tells Kevin like the truth. She's like, okay, I've been glitching out all week long, every single fucking day that we go to this FBI thing, because it turns out that I do have the serial killer gene. And she's like, I have this memory of my cat, like killing my cat. And what happened was a car hit her, and then she heard like a screech. And this is when we see the full actual memory. And Kevin is like hearing it for the first time. So this is when she goes inside. She's like, the cat's dying. She like hears a scream. And then we see that Hal, who is a serial killer, tells her to kill the cat, because like he's like, it's your cat. You like, take responsibility for like putting it out of its misery.
Like standing over his little daughter being like, kill the cat. Like, Alice, you should have left your men a long time ago. Like, what a psycho. And also the thing is like, as she's recalling this memory to Kevin, she's not even putting two to two together, because she's so glitching out about the fact that she could be a serial killer that she doesn't even realize that 1 + 1 is like, your dad is a killer. Like, there's no way around it. He was the one that influenced you to do it. So in that regard, I do appreciate that Kevin was so cute.
You weren't the one that actually did it. It was actually your dad who did it.
And he's like, you're deeply screwed up dad. Like, he's like, do not forget that your dad was a psychopath. Like, he's dead now.
Like, his dad, her dad was literally a serial killer. So obviously he's getting her to do some twisted shit. Sure. So anyway, so that's when she kind of eases up a bit, and she's like, okay, cool. Like, I guess I didn't really kill her, but like I was forced to
like,
do
it's
something.
So fucked up.
If anything, all the memories that she was talking about was like her being super empathetic and feeling really, really sorry for people, which I think that Charles should have taught them that like serial killers don't have any empathy.
Yeah, that's the one point he should have focused on. Instead, he like nailed all of her fucking characteristics and like memories. And then Kevin was like, maybe we shouldn't do this thing anymore. Like, not like we shouldn't go to FBI training anymore, because like it's like haunting you and it's like too much for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's cute of him. Like, he actually has a good idea.
He has like feelings, and he's like being helpful. So then it cuts to the El Royale, and this is when FP comes in and he's like, yo, Red.
Like everyone's complaining around all the businesses are saying that like you guys are bad for business. There's like all these like hoodlums around here. He's like, you just like, it's just not good. Like people are talking shit about you. And Archie's like, okay, but like what should we do? Like we're doing good for the community, but like why are people talking shit? And FP and I love this moment because he was like he finally like shout out to the serpents. We don't even talk about them anymore.
Shout out to the serpents.
He's like we used to do this as like the serpents. He's like we used to like throw a party like a clam bake and like talk to our neighbors and like chill with them and like have a good relationship with them so that like they probably wouldn't call the cops on you if like they know you and like they eat your clams. So so basically he's like have a party. It was cute.
Have a party, get people invited, make people feel better about the fact that there was a gang in your area. It's fine. So then it cuts back to Stonewall Prep. And what happens?
My notes.
Please explain.
My notes are killing Jaylen.
I'm like, can you please explain what you meant by that?
What I mean by that is when Jughead's like talking and he's like so excited about the books, Brett's like, oh no, sorry. This is the scene where Jughead comes back into like the lounge or whatever at Stonewall Prep after he just like killed Brett. And Brett's like, yo, you're fucking so like such a loser. He's like, you didn't even win that game. He's like, I saw you winking at me. Like, he's basically just like on Jughead's dick. And Jughead's like calm down, like whatever. He's like, you're not even supposed to be here. He's like, you're just a charity case. He's like, you're just like a quota. Like they just like brought you in here, not even because of your talents. No one's even read your shit before. And like obviously at that point, like Jughead freaks out. He like throws Brett on the table. And I'm like, yes, punch him. And doesn't punch him. And he's just like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, whatever. And then basically, it just kind of sends Jughead into like this like weird mood of sadness. Because he doesn't punch him. He doesn't do anything to Brett. So.
Because this poor guy has to keep like repressing himself and be like, yo, like these guys are fucking annoying. They're making me feel like shit all the time. They put me in a coffin last episode. Like, why am I even here? So he's just kind of down on himself. And of course, like the biggest thing that you can tell Jughead is that like his work means nothing. That like these guys never read his work. So like that's the biggest insult too. And then he brings up the grandpa. He's like, you're gonna end up like your grandpa, like a dropout and a loser. And like of course, like it's triggered, right? He gets triggered and he like freaks out. But yeah. So then it cuts back to the El Royale, and this is when Archie's like, hey everybody, welcome to our clam bake. Like we're just gonna hang out. Like we're gonna actually extend like I don't know if it was like the best way to announce this, but he was like, so I know that you guys don't like us, but we're gonna extend all of the hours.
He's like, we're gonna be open till later. The kids are
around all the time.
And we're open on Sunday. So after church, you can come on by.
So like he didn't lead it pretty well.
It was so cute.
He does try to make them feel.
He was like, everyone's helping out. He's
really
like, this is a community outreach program. Like everyone wants to help out. The Bulldogs are here. The Vixens are volunteering to help. So he's like, you guys should definitely come through and like help us. And like he's right. I love that.
It is true, and I do love that Alice is just like working in the corner,
so
like
excited.
just like, holding a microphone.
That's my neighbor. That's my neighbor. She was so excited for him.
She's like, my daughter had a huge crush on him the entire time, and
and then I love how like and then Archie's like, and if you still don't want to help us, well, my mom's a great lawyer, and you can't shut us down.
Well, see, that's the thing where I feel like he kind of like skirted a line. I was like, you should have just been like, please just be nice to us. And then he was like, but if you don't, then I'm going to get my mom and my
I think it was I think friends. You have to sort of follow it up with like a more stern position to be like, I'm going to stay here. Like I'm doing good for the community. And if you still can't respect that, then I'm going to have a lawyer come through. Like, you know, it's like true. He's doing good. He's not doing anything bad. So like everyone needs to chill the fuck out.
So then later on, one of the shop owners comes up and he was like, yo, like, it's cool what you're doing here, and actually, to be honest, I really like support it. However, turns out that Dodger is now like threatening all of the shop owners, basically saying, you know, if we like side with you, then he'll stop giving us protection, aka like he'll burn down our fucking institutions if we, you know, don't do anything. And so that's when Archie puts it all together and he's like, so it's fucking Dodger. I'm just like, fuck with me again.
Why was it so shocking that it was Dodger? I'm like, he's literally had a thing for your ass this whole time. Like, why are you so shocked?
But I guess he keeps thinking that like it is going away. So I do like the fact that he's not pursuing Dodger. He's not like, I'm going to go find you.
He said he thought it was Hiram too. He was like, is it Hiram Lodge? And the guy's like, who the fuck's that?
Incorrect. Wrong person. So then it turns out that it's him. So he's like, okay, like, what are we going to do now? So then we're cutting back to the Jones residence / the Cooper residence, whatever you want to call it. And this is when Jughead and FP have like their little like heart to heart. And Jughead's like, I'm done with school. Like, I'm coming home. Like, I'm like, that place like wants to kill me. They don't like me. They don't think that I'm good enough. And FP has like a really sweet, encouraging moment where he says, you should never like hate on yourself. You do deserve to be there. You are so smart. You are so talented. And you have to like stick through it. And Jughead's like, okay, so like, what are you trying to tell me? Are you trying to tell me like not to stay in the school because you're always making me feel like shit? Or are you trying to tell me like, no, stick it through because I'm not really understanding what you're trying to say? Like, are you supportive or not? Like, you didn't want to come to the wine and cheese party.
Which leads back to what you were saying in the beginning, how you're like, why would he send him to the school and then he's going to ask questions and then he's still not answering his questions? So like, I get Jughead's point. He's like, Dad, like, what are you trying to like, you're like throwing me everywhere right now, you know? You're confusing me.
But I guess at the same time, to FP's like defense, if I want to give him any defense, is like he must have had a really traumatic experience with his father, so he didn't want to like do that. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So he didn't want to like bring him up again. So he does admit to at that point, he's like, your dad was actually a really good writer, and you know those Baxter books that you really liked. He was actually the one that bought you for you, and I would give them to you from him. And so that's when Jughead, like, his brain explodes again. He's like, what?
And it also sounds like since the grandpa left, like, he hasn't been back.
Yes.
So he's still alive. He's alive. That's the assumption, right? Like, that he didn't die.
That he didn't die, but maybe we can talk about this now. Are we assuming? So we're assuming that he's alive. Right? Are you assuming that he's alive?
I think he's alive because they never once said that he was dead. And then especially in this scene, he's like, have you heard from him? And FP's like, I never saw him like after that time he left us. Like, I never heard from him or whatever. Right. So I feel like he might be coming to Riverdale because just like, if not, like they could have just said like he died, you know? Like he's dead. Yeah. Like they didn't end the character. They left it kind of open.
They closed him up. No, I think I like that more because I think my original theory was maybe Jughead's dad died and he like mysteriously disappeared one day because whatever happened at Stonewall Prep like caught up to him and then eventually like they got him.
Could be, yeah.
That being said though, I like your theory a little bit more, but in the same vein where maybe the grandpa isn't hiding because
they'd still come after him
of what happened at Stonewall, and that's why they're using Jughead to
like beat him out,
like bring him back. Yeah, to bring him back into the school. They're like, we're gonna find your grandpa and we're gonna fucking kill him.
Yeah,
like for like for the rest of it. So, yeah, I really do like that idea, but I do like even. Diving even deeper, like something crazy must have happened at Stonewall for the grandpa to have become like a drunken,
definitely.
Like,
I definitely
person.
think like whatever happened there is what led FPOG to like become an alcoholic and like just kind of check out of life because
and it totally makes sense, and I'm totally down for that storyline. The fact that like he wanted to do all this good stuff, he was talented just like Jughead was, but he couldn't get out of it, especially when he got there. Some shit went down, they like fucked him up, and like that's why he turned out the way he did. But I do like the fact that he might return, which I
think I read something on Twitter that he is gonna make an appearance. Ooh, I don't know if that's confirmed or like they casted the actor, I don't know, but I read something that sounded pretty certain that he's gonna be a character.
I'm into it. Anyway, cutting to FBI headquarters. This is when Betty and Charles have like their little heart to heart. So he's like, no more lessons about the fact that you might be a serial killer. What's going on? And so Betty basically says, I think I need to quit. I think this is too much for me. And I just don't want to do it. And she starts making up all these excuses.
And she's not really saying why. He's like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And she's like, you don't get it. You don't get it. You just don't get it. And he's like, no, Betty. He's like, I literally get it. Like, I have the same gene as you. So he knew the whole time?
Yeah, exactly. And
How
I'm like,
does
why
he
couldn't
know?
you just like take her aside after every single class and be like, I do know that you have a serial killer gene.
Don't worry.
I know this might be triggering for you.
Seriously.
So like, don't freak out. Like, he's holding all this other information, but I guess that makes sense like why it goes the way that it does by the end of the episode, because she's like, I don't trust this motherfucker.
No, for sure. And I did, but and also I did like the way that they spun it too, because he was like, well, I have the gene too, and he's like, I joined the FBI because of it, and he's like, I wanted to kind of like control the darkness in me, and he's like, this was the only way I could think of doing it. But it kind of leads me to like more questions, like, wait, so Betty and Charles share the same mom, which means that if Betty got it from Hal, like Charles got it from like his dad, I guess, like, or they both got it from Alice,
or did Alice does Alice have
that's the only
like
that's the only reason why I would think that they would link these two together, you know,
right?
Unless it doesn't mean anything,
or he's lying, or he's like pure lying.
Yeah, that's true.
To like just get closer to her, to be like, yeah, I'm also like, I also have the serial killer gene. But that's the thing, we don't really know what his motive is. We shouldn't be trusting him just yet, because there is something sketchy about him. We just don't know what it is, and it does make me interested in figuring out what this
I'm definitely like exactly. Now I'm intrigued by this whole storyline, you know what I mean?
I'm intrigued, but I'm like also like, please don't make this confusing, because I'm gonna be really annoyed if they make it like super convoluted, like this person lied and this person lied and like the tests were flubbed, or like you didn't have the gene in the first place. Like there were too many possibilities that opened up this episode that I'm like, if they go back and try to like walk this one back, it's gonna get so confusing. So we'll see. So then it cuts back to the Bon Nuit. And
this is where shit goes down. This is where it all kind of happens.
This is when yes. So Veronica's on the phone with the DA or whoever, and they're like, "Oh, your mom's getting released. Like, what are you gonna do?" And she's like, "I'm gonna bring her home. I'm so happy." And that's when Hermosa, who we don't know her name yet, mystery girl, overhears her getting the news, and she was like, "Ooh, you got some good news, it sounds like." And then Hermione's like, "Yeah," or no? Why do I keep calling Hermione? Veronica says, yeah, like my mom's been in some shit recently, and my parents have been in some shit, but like now she's coming home. And this is when it all kind of comes out, where Hermosa's like, oh, you mean your mom, the one that like is going to jail because this and this. And so this is when she starts to reveal that she's a private investigator hired by Hiram Lodge to like figure out a way to get him out of jail. So while she's talking, she does start saying all these certain things where like, oh, well, I do know that you talked to the the federal prosecutor in this booth, and you talked to Mr. like Governor Dooley here, and I have a recording of you doing it there. And so Hermione starts, God damn it. So Veronica keeps on like glitching out, and she was like, who the fuck are you? Like, are you like, how do you even have this information on me? And Hermosa's like, yep, I bugged your shit, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get our. And then this is when she's like, our father, and I was like, she's like, it totally. She's like, you see, our father needed help, and then I don't even think Veronica heard the first part. She was just like more gagged that like someone like was spying on her. She's like, huh, spying, wiretapping, Dooley, speaker, booth, pops. She's like, our father. And then she's like, wait, what? Did you say our father? She's like double taked it. And so that's when
like,
she was like, I don't get it. What? He had to bring me up from Miami to like fix the situation, because like you're the daughter that sucks now, and I'm the cool
literally
daughter.
said, I'm Hiram's other daughter.
Yeah.
Like, are you proud of being the other daughter? He should have said his first daughter, dumbass.
So many questions. Whole situation. First, so you ask your question, then I'll ask my question.
I don't know. What did you think of her? Like, what do you think of this whole story?
So the question that I had for you is, what did you think of that reveal?
You know what?
What did you think of how it was all laid out? I
liked how it happened on Hermosa's side. I didn't like Veronica's face wasn't as gagged as I thought it would have been. Yeah. She was more like, eh? Like, it wasn't like, what? Like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, I feel like
my sister?
If you found out that you had like a long lost sister, you'd be like losing your shit, like being like,
her face was more like,
wait, what are you saying?
Her face was more like, wait, did I lock the door upstairs or not? It was more like that. Like,
she's like, so did I change the covers in the guest bedroom for my mom?
Did I fire Josie, or did she just leave the show?
Like, thinking about everything but the fact that she's staring at her fucking half-sister at this point. So, her secret half-sister. So, yeah, I didn't love the reveal. And I would love to know from our listeners, someone who, I mean, if you guys listened to us before, we did spoil this for you, but we did know that she was going to get her sister, right? Like,
yeah,
there
we
was
knew
going to be this
they had
other
casted
lodge
this girl.
sister. We knew she was coming. She was casted. I would love to know the like thoughts from somebody who just watches the show casually and didn't realize that her sister was her sister until she revealed it. Like,
true.
Do you think that was a sick gag moment, or was it something that was like,
yeah, like try to put
to
put yourself in the shoes of someone who like didn't know she was casted. Would you have figured it out that she was Hiram's daughter? Probably not.
Not at all.
Probably not.
And I probably would have been like, "Oh shit, he's got a next daughter. That's crazy." But I feel like I would be more gagged than her,
Veronica.
like Veronica's face at that point. Like Veronica was like totally stone faced, and I would have been like screaming and like standing on my couch, being like, "What the fuck? Like this is crazy."
Yeah.
But she was not like that. She was so unaffected. Maybe she'll have a scene later where she freaks out, but I really...
Like, once it sinks in and she starts asking questions and, like, trying to... Because she's like, wait, what? Like, she couldn't understand that her, like, dad, like, slept with someone else and, like, had another kid. Like, she didn't get it.
Like, take it back from, like, last season finale where Charles reveals that he is the real Charles to Jughead and Betty. They, like, gagged.
True.
They, like, were pretty gagged. They were like, what? You him? Like, they freaked out a little bit. But, like, Hermione was, like, speechless.
Veronica?
Anyway, she's like...
Veronica, not Hermione.
Oh, my God. Why can't... It's because it's Hermosa.
So can we talk about that
so
real quick? Because we keep saying that it's Hiram's daughter only, but why the f would he name his daughter Hermosa when his wife's name is Hermione?
I know, it's just
like
very
if that
weird.
actually isn't her daughter, that's actually so tight on Hiram's part. Like you named your daughter Hermosa.
But if it is Hermione's daughter, then it's really tight on Hermione's
part.
You know what I mean? Like she didn't say shit about this like
it's true.
daughter that's been around this whole time. So I'm really interested to see like what's the situation.
I wonder if it is Hermione's daughter and somehow they've kept her secret so that like she's protected by like the press, or when Hiram when Hiram's whole thing happened, like his embezzlement, like maybe they just kind of sent her. But then Veronica would know that. Like
Veronica would know that. Plus, the sister or the mom would at least say, you know, listen, like you have a sister. We're fucked right now. Like I don't know.
They're not that many years apart. Like they only look like 3 or 4 maybe years apart. So they would have grown up together. It's not like she's like 45 and like Veronica's like 15. Like you know.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know what the situation is. It'll be interesting to see how they reveal it. So cutting back to Stonewall Prep. This is when Jughead, sees the page again. Like he sees the book, but this time he uses like a crayon to like shade over it and see what it actually says. And it essentially says like, baby FP or baby whatever, baby Forsyth, happy birthday. Like just remember like your grandpa loves you or whatever. And then he says like, P.S. trust few and never let them take anything from you. I'm like, okay, first of all, if you're reading this book, a kid is not going to be like, okay, seriously. Cool. I'm not going to trust anybody.
Got it, Grandpa. Yeah. But I guess he like assumed that he would only notice that like sketch if... Wait, why was the page ripped?
It was likely ripped out because... like FP was like, fuck this guy. He was like, I'm not gonna show my son that like his... Yeah,
why would he write that to like a 7-year-old kid in a book? It's so weird.
So but also like, what kind of revelation was Jughead trying to figure out? Like clearly, well, I guess we're making the assumptions and Jughead doesn't really know what's going on. So now he's putting together... Yeah,
he's kind of saying like, wait, my grandpa knew something more for sure.
Yeah, so there's definitely something more involved with the grandpa. He's like starting to uncover this mystery of the Stonewall 4 and like his grandpa potentially being involved. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. Then it cuts back to the court, and this is where Hiram is like, yes, press conference, like I'm getting out of jail.
He's free. Yeah, he's basically free. That happened really effing quick.
So fast.
I'm assuming that like Hermosa like basically gave them all like the proof that Veronica was like what, colluding against him. Like how did he get free? I didn't understand.
I don't know if it was, I think it was because of the evidence that she pulled together. That's what she says to her at the Bon Nuit. She like, okay, so she was behind that then. We're gonna use that evidence against you, but like not do it during a trial. We're just gonna like give it to the judge and then we're gonna get him free. So he gets out. He gets vindicated of like everything.
The best part is like when he exits the courtroom, she's like holding his arm, like they're walking together. And Alice is like, "Oh, you're a free man now, Hiram. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, who is this person besides you?" Yeah. Like, she fully thought it was like his mistress or something.
Oh my God!
Like, no. He's like, "It's my daughter."
What if it isn't his daughter? What if it is his mistress? And he's like just like going super young. Like, I don't know.
And she's lying about being his daughter?
Yeah, I mean, fuck.
Whoa,
we saw
that would be crazy.
Like fucking Evelyn and fucking Edgar were like fake like daughter, son, wife,
yeah, that
husband.
Would be actually insane. Yeah. But I do think there's a connection. Like I do think that the producers wanted to give Veronica a sibling. Like I think they wanted that to be a thing. Right. So I don't know if they'd just make another mistress, but that's a really cool, like, if that.
But here's the thing that I have the question for. Like, yeah, fine, give her a sister, but her sister obviously hates her, and she's siding with Hiram. But something's gonna
happen that, like, I know, but something's gonna happen along the way that pushes them together, and they become sisters against their daddy.
And why does Hermosa like Hiram so much? He basically abandoned her entire life.
Well, maybe he's been paying for her whole life or something, because she's living in Miami. She's having a good life.
Oh, that's true. Anyway, so he does announce at this point in time that he's like, not only am I free, I'm also going to run for mayor. I'm like, bro, are you fucking
like,
serious?
Really, man? Right now, like, homie? You can't just go home and change your suit.
In damn cold hell that you're going to be able to win that goddamn election. So anyway.
And Veronica's like seeing all of this from like the side, and she's like, oh, my tears.
And then Hiram's like,
she's like, it's tight. Like, she's not the daddy's girl anymore. He has like a new like daughter.
And did you notice that they both have pearls? Like they both got the pearl
totally
going on. Anyway, coming back to Riverdale High, and so this is when Betty starts to talk to Kevin, and she was like, yo, so like we're not gonna like drop out. And he's like, oh, what happened? Like what with a conversation with Charles? And she's like, I found out that he also has the serial killer gene, but that also made me conclude the fact that...
So that's the thing. She doesn't... So this is what she says. She's like, no. She's like, that's before I found out more about Charles. Right. Yes. She doesn't mention that he has the gene to Kevin.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if like... Yeah, and I'm wondering if this is going to come into play after, because like I did watch that scene again on purpose to see if she says it to Kevin, and she doesn't. Yes, so he doesn't know that Charles has admitted to having the gene.
That's true. She's like, because of classified information, I'm gonna keep going. But then she says like, forget about the fact that like we're trying to figure out whether or not he's straight or gay, which I loved. I love that they threw that line.
Yeah, I love that line. Yeah,
because she's like, we're trying to figure out whether or not this guy is like a sketch bag or not.
Yeah.
And then it shows her like sleuthing in front of Pops while he's leaving.
She's basically like stalking him. And, you know, I love that they brought this up, because these are all the questions that I think we had too. Like, she's like, we don't know anything about him. Like, where the F does he live?
Why is he still in Riverdale?
What does he do for work? Why is he still here? And Kevin's like, isn't he here like helping FP on cases? She's like, what cases? She's like, there's literally no work to do. Like, why is he here?
Like that man doesn't even know how to like save a kid from getting shot in the foot. Like, forget.
Honestly,
FP's a waste case. Like, do not even touch him. He's like a cursed man.
So she's basically like, he's keeping secrets from me, and I want to know what they are. So she's on his ass now, and I love it.
What do you think is gonna come from this? Do you think that there's
honestly like? I definitely think like it's going to push Kevin and Charles together. I think that she's going to almost use Kevin to like get closer to Charles in a more like personal way.
I feel like Betty, she did that though. Didn't she do that with fucking the fake one? What's his name? Chip or whatever? Chick?
Oh yeah, that's
he did the same thing. She does the same thing. Like, use your sexuality to fucking
true.
figure out what his deal is.
Maybe the fact that Chick was gay and like Chick and Charles, they were friends. Like maybe Charles is gay too.
But
like there is that common.
But did he even really know him at all? Like maybe.
I don't know.
Anyway, we'll figure. Well, I don't know. I don't even know. Like if that storyline's gonna be.
I just think the fact that they've put Kevin beside her, there's a meaning to that. You know, like there could be a meaning to it.
Okay, we'll get to our roundups when we get to it. We'll bring this back into conversation. Anyway, cuts back to the El Royale. And this is when it's like in the middle of the night, and Archie in his like full out superhero getup once again goes up to Dodger, and he's like, yo, you better like get the fuck out of here. We're going to fucking kill you. And this part was weird because I was like, Dodger gets out of his car, or he's out of his car, and then he has to go back into his car to get the gun. And by the time he gets out, Archie's gone. And I'm like, he's a gangster. He's going to have that gun in his motherfucking pants. Like, he's not going to have it sitting on the car seat, like, waiting for him to pick up. So, anyway, whatever. That's just, like, a script thing. But Archie says, like, you know, I warned you once. Like, now that, like, you won't listen to me, like, I'm going to figure out a way to, like, get you. I'm like, you could have gotten him right then and there. But, like, why aren't you?
Yeah.
And that's my thing.
It was a weird confrontation. I was like, huh?
FP knows Dodger. Like, Archie knows, like, Dodger's around. He also knows FP. Why can't he tell FP to get his shit together?
Exactly. That's why I was saying. I'm like, just blackmail him, or like put something in his car, like drugs or whatever, and then get FP to get him.
Or just
like,
get him.
So hard.
Listen, get him to do one fucking scout with Dodger one goddamn time. Archie's out there every single night, like watching Dodger do sketchy shit.
Seriously, like take out your camera phone and take a picture.
FP's literally so useless. What are you doing? What are you so busy with doing that you can't even focus on this one case? So anyway, that's when Archie dips, and that's when Dodger's like, I'm gonna get you too. So whatever, there's the war still going on. Cutting back to Stonewall Prep, and this is when they announce that there's like the theme has been announced for the writing competition, and everybody is like ready to go. They're like, there's a few people who are like, I'm gonna join, I'm gonna try, and then Jughead doesn't raise his hand, but then they both look at him like concerned. They're like, Jughead, like, you're not gonna do it? And Jughead's like, fuck yeah, I am, bitch.
Yeah,
and then he's like, my name is not Jughead any longer. It is now Forsyth the Third, named after my grandfather. Extra. I was like, okay, relax.
Like, relax.
They're both like cool,
drama queen.
Like moving on.
Yeah, and then they're like, the theme is the perfect murder. Like, Jughead, you took up too much time.
Yeah, which I love the fact that they kind of segued into the final scene. Because like, I will say that I really appreciate the way that they've been doing these flashbacks where they start off with a shot where like, you know, like it's Betty and Jughead, and he's like, you're always going to protect me. And if like I went missing, you would find me. And then it cuts to like his dead body. And then again, this episode where he's like, oh, it's going to be talking about how to like, you know, accomplish the perfect murder. That's when it cuts to the final scene where FP comes into the classroom where it's like Kevin and
everyone, basically
like
the
core
cast
4
is like
or
class.
The core 3. And then FP says, you guys are under arrest for the brutal murder of
cold-blooded murder of Jughead.
Murder of my son, Jughead Jones. I was like, okay, relax.
Archie, Betty, and Veronica. So like,
yes.
Yeah, so they're under arrest.
But they don't look like terribly like gagged.
No, that's the thing too. They were like kind of like ready, like expecting, like they were like almost standing up, like how Cheryl was in season 1 when like they called her for Jason.
She was like,
they were kind of waiting for it. So there's something going on. And the fact that like Jughead's whole thing this season is like a perfect murder, or like the setup of a perfect murder. Yeah. I feel like it has something to do with the core 4 and like what they know and like what they're behind. So
they're making like do you think they're going to be like, it's a fake thing? Like, what
I
do you
think so. I think they're setting something up to be like a fake murder.
Ooh, but
like, why? You're right. Like just how his grandpa is in hiding. Maybe they have to make it seem like Jughead's dead too. I don't know.
Maybe. Good point. But then that's not gonna he's gonna be fake dead for the rest of his
until like things get sorted out. But I think the fact that this whole thing is based on this perfect murder, and then Jughead's missing, and then he's seen dead in the coroner's office. Like, I'm sure it's all like a setup, because like they're not gonna kill Jughead.
Yeah, I keep thinking about it randomly, being like, there's no way. I know that everybody.
It just all makes sense now. Like, it's all kind of connecting.
It is all connecting, and I'm kind of down. I still am down. I'm not
down
like,
for that. Yeah.
I'm not like, oh my god, now I need to find out who really did die at spring break. I'm like, okay, cool, somebody's dead, and like, what I still think the theory is like maybe Jughead did accidentally kill somebody at the school, and he's gonna get framed for it if they don't like turn up a body.
Yeah, that could be.
But how they found a body that's exactly like his, if they make like Cole Sprouse, or maybe it was really him. I don't know.
Because don't forget, like, they know the coroner, so like they could, like, that image that you saw could just be the fabrication of their story. Like, yeah, we were in the coroner's office and we saw him.
But then at the very end, like, FP looks so sad.
I know, but like maybe that's just the way they're filming it, and like what we're, you know what I mean?
And then, like
right after they're like homies. Like,
yeah, right after he gets sad, he's like relieved. He's like, oh, thank God, at least his body's here. And then his eyes open. He's like, okay, let's like take everybody else down. And
like, also, if you were seeing his dead body, he was seeing it with Betty. So you're telling me that after like 4 days later, you go and arrest Betty?
Yeah.
Like, it sounds, it's like weird. Like,
that's true. And that is the end of the episode.
Recap roundups.
Best moment. My best moment, I think, has to be the reveal of Hermosa.
Yes.
Because, like, for us, it was crazy. Not that we didn't know who she was, but, like, still, like, her saying it, I'm like, ooh.
I did like, and that's the thing. Like I said, I want to know if there was somebody who watched it who didn't know that it was her sister, because I feel like the reveal was kind of cool. The writing between the two of them, the way that it was set up was really cool. Because that's also my best moment. I really did enjoy that piece where it reveals that that's who she is. And the fact that and it's also setting a really cool tone between them right away. She's like, I decided to reveal myself when I wanted to reveal myself, which means she doesn't trust Veronica either. So it's adding a lot of tension to their characters right at that beginning stage.
It would have been cool though, I think, if like Hermosa didn't know that Veronica was the daughter too, but I guess she would figure that out.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be cool if like they were both sort of, you know, blinded by each other's.
Yeah, they're like, who, me? You?
Yeah,
you too?
like, you're the daughter too? Instead, she's like, I'm the other daughter. Like, wow, what a cool title, girl. WTF moment. WTF moment, I think, was the flash forward at the end. FBI arresting, like, everyone. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm loving these flash forwards. I feel like they're really intriguing, and I'm really interested to see what's going to happen in this mid-season finale. But yeah. My WTF moment is going to go to Hiram announcing that he's going to be running for mayor.
For sure.
I was like, bro, who do you think you are that you just like rolled out of jail and now you can become the mayor of a town?
I'm not surprised that he wants to do it because, like, he sort of was anyways, like, playing all the strings from the top last season. It's just like the timing of it. It's like right now, like, you're not even home yet. Like, go home first.
Exactly. I was like, bro, chill. But I guess he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna love the fact that he's running for mayor though. I feel like he already did that shit. Like, I feel like Hermione was doing it, and now Hiram's gonna do it. I'm just like, can you get him to do something else? Like, I don't know where his place is gonna be, and I think I'm a little worried about that because I feel like Hermosa is gonna be the new female Hiram, and then Hiram is gonna kind of take a step backward a little bit.
Maybe.
Because as we know, like, I mean, I don't know for sure, but we lurk Mark Consuelos's Insta all the time, and he's like in New York like a lot.
That's true.
And I'm like, does that mean that he's been written out of the show? Is he not going to have a lot of FaceTime? Like, clearly he's not the main antagonist and villain of the series so far. So I'm like, what's happening with this character? Are they going to kind of just like keep him in the back corner? But at the same time, I'm questioning, they took him out of jail for a reason this early, I'm assuming for him to do something, unless he's like, fuck this, I'm going to Miami. Like, I don't know. Like,
something,
I don't know.
MVP, I'm gonna give it to Kevin. Finally, like, after effing 4 seasons, you know, I really had to give it to him this week because he may never make this list ever again. It's very highly likely. So I'm gonna say Kevin. He was such a good friend to Betty. He kind of like was with her the entire episode, and he gave her like really good advice at the end.
Yeah.
He was just like, he was there for her emotionally, physically, and I just needed to give it to him because we've been ripping on this guy for years. So
that's,
Kevin, you got this week for me.
For MP specifically.
Yeah.
Because my MVP is going to go to Jughead. I think that for one, I think like we were saying this whole episode, he's been great as a character to watch. I am enjoying his Stonewall prep investigation and the fact that and I do also love the fact that he seems happier and more like
he does
passionate, where we've seen him so often in other scenes where he's like, burp, burp, high school, burp, burp, I don't care. Like, I don't want to go to dances. I don't want to do this. But now he's like activated and he's in classes where like people are challenging him. And it was funny because I think we got a tweet from one of our listeners last week where they were talking about how much they love the fact that Brett is his antagonist at the school. And I was like, it's true. I mean, like, Jughead has never had a real like like foe in that like in the school world, you know what I mean? Like he's always had to deal with like the serpents and having to deal with like fighting in a gang, but now that he's like becoming an adult kid, you know, having somebody who's maybe just as smart as he is but also privileged and kind of like everything he stands against, it's interesting to see him play against him that way, you know?
LVP,
I'm going to say KJ's wardrobe supervisor for not creating a cooler superhero outfit or vigilante outfit, just giving him a freaking black cloth bag over his face.
So now I know why you were like so not down with the comment that I
definitely want to see a better outfit for KJ and Archie.
But what else do you need him to do? Like have a red cape and like what?
Yeah, or something cool, like a leather jacket, like something. Like I don't know. He
leather
looks
jackets
so
are not
like
practical for moving around.
He's just like side of the road, like kind of dollar store superhero right now.
I don't know. I feel like it was kind of cool, like the way that it zipped up and like he had like the face piece like right on top. Like I don't know. I was down for it, but sure, I'll give you that. Because I'll give you that because you're gonna let me take this one. Kevin is my LVP of the episode. Damn. And the reason why I'm giving it to him for a couple of reasons. One, for some reason, even when he has a really strong episode, they still give him these like homo tropes that are so typical and so poorly written that I don't even know how to like combat them, you know?
You know what? You're totally right. And I did consider that, but I was like, whatever, I'm gonna give him MVP because I'm not gonna like stick on that. When I think of Kevin and I try to remember what his first ever scene was, it was literally that. It was him sitting on Betty's bed being like, Archie got hot. Yeah. So I'm like, damn, like he really hasn't changed. They've never really written him any other way except for that. So I guess like, I mean, we can't be shocked. We can expect more for sure. It was just funny because I did consider that, and I had to remember back on the pilot being like, how was Kevin before? But he's been exactly the same.
I feel like it's time that our generation, and especially the younger generation, sees a strong, independent, like cool gay character that isn't just like boy crazy and isn't just fawning over every situation. Like, why can't he be just as mature and like?
But he was this episode. He was like, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like they did balance it out with him saying those comments and then him being like, Betty, like, you're not crazy, just relax, your dad was a psychopath. Instead, they could have made him where like he was hornified and he went and like hooked up with Charles. Like they would have done that like last season. Like at least he didn't go that extreme, you know. They still kept him as like her friend. So,
and it's true. I mean, I guess the fact I'm just hoping to see what they're gonna do with his character. If this is what it's gonna be, then like I don't know what's gonna happen next. But if he's gonna constantly be Betty's sidekick for the entire series, it's like they don't want to give him a gay storyline because they've done it a million times. But then also giving him a sidekick storyline is kind of weak too, in my opinion. So I don't know what I want from him anymore. I feel like he could be a stronger character. I do understand that he's not a part of the core four, but I do feel like they're trying to integrate him back into the storyline. I just don't know what they're gonna do, how they're gonna do it.
If he's the equivalent of Cheryl as a secondary character, he should be getting the same sort of attention that Cheryl's getting, and that's not what's happening because
he's getting
Cheryl
like
gets way more.
He's getting like a Tony.
Not even a Tony. I would say even less than Tony. Tony's getting a lot too.
Like,
so
he's like down at the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
What was your best line?
The best line. My best line, I think, is gonna go to Hermosa Lodge, our first introduction to her. She goes, "You see, our father needed help, someone he could trust. He had me come up from Miami. I fix things." And I think it's just gonna be like a really fun dynamic to see Veronica and her going like head to head this season.
Yeah, super excited to see how that all pans out. My best line is gonna go to Kevin, oddly enough, when they're in the FBI Junior Academy and she discovers, like, you know, she finds out who the serial killer is in the picture, and Kevin turns to her and says, "You're like a beautiful mind for serial killers." I was like, that's a cute line. I'm into it.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'll take it.
I also quickly want to, we should have talked about this before in our theories, because I was reading on Twitter, a couple of our listeners like tweeted us with some good theories. At Kawe isn't working. He has a really good thing. He goes, Plot twist, Jughead kills Brett, so Betty, Archie, Veronica, and FP stage his death and their arrest so all of the Core 4 can get the F out of there and, more importantly, get away with the murder. Yeah. Which is sort of what we were saying, but like I like how FP's in on it too.
Yeah.
You know?
I definitely would like to see if that plays out the way it does. The only thing that I am a little stuck on is who dies. I don't know if it's going to be Brett. I feel like it could be like Mr. Chipping, or maybe it's this maybe next Mr. old Chipping. Man.
But it could also be Brett. I could definitely see them doing that because like.
Or maybe it's the grandpa. Because I feel like they have to choose a character that is like going to be introduced in the season and then like doesn't matter next season.
I mean, I thought they were going to kill a legit member of the Core 4 or like someone really important, but I don't know.
No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who it is. I'll put my money on his grandpa. He's probably gonna come back.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then maybe like they're gonna have to like cover up his murder.
Yeah. Really quickly too, roundups from @Becca Sarah. She says MVP is Archie, LVP is Brett. He is a bully and a jerk. WTF moment is Hal telling Betty to kill the cat, which was that was pretty messed up.
What a douche. Yeah, I know. Let's get into our quick announcements. We have our contest that we mentioned earlier this episode going on right now for a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card and a pop socket. To enter, all you need to do is just rate and comment on our iTunes page and you'll be entered in the draw. The contest ends December 11th, so that's not very long from now. It's just about over a month, where we'll be drawing one lucky winner. So do it, and then
do it.
Someone might win. And I would like to take this time to thank our patrons of the episode, our Rewinder squad. We got White, and then we got our Lit Rewinders, Tina Ann, Sarge, Serena, Soleil, Kate, and Jessica. And our Mommy Rewinders, Becca, Sarah, Tamala, and Grace.
And if you would like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind. If you join, you'll get access to all things Recap Rewind, exclusive content, and updates.
And also make sure you guys are checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. And you can check us out on all podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes. Like, subscribe, follow, review, and comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.